MANIC CHILL is live. This is not Trades in 5. This is 2/3 of the Trades in 5 crew. MANIC CHILL, myself, and Shane coming to everybody live in this time slot for the near future. Clay's taking a little much-needed time off. So we'll talk about our summer schedule coming up here a little bit later on in the stream. But let's get right to the content, Shane. We got a lot of people in the chat. Already started some questions. We got a lot of hammers. So this is going to be an hour and a half packed with trades, strategy discussion, etc. The old school MANIC CHILL like we used to do when we previously had it in multiple stops before. But when we get into it tonight, Shane, one of the favorite times of year for me was always getting out of school, right? When you were a kid, the last day of school, it was like summer's ahead of us. I can do whatever I want. Kind of the same with Dynasty. We leave rookie draft season. We're starting into June. Shane, what are you doing? Well, first of all, how are you doing? Glad to be back on a MANIC CHILL live. But then to the question, what are you doing over your Dynasty summer? What are your plans? What do you have in store for your teams? What are you trying to do now? What are you planning to try to do over the next 4 to 6 weeks until we get into training camp?
So one, I'm well. I hope you're well. We actually didn't talk much last week. It was hurtful. Or hurtful is not the word. It was weird. There you go. It was weird. So our vibe might be off this week because we're used to talking all the time and we didn't last week. You know, I was looking at my ownership shares, and I promise this is going to get to the point. And I noticed that I'm scattered. Right, I've got too many. 5 of this guy, 4 of this guy, 3 of that guy. I've got too many 15% shares. 12% shares, 10% shares. I don't like it. It doesn't show a lot of conviction. It shows a lot of, I don't want to say too much process, but it's a lot of process, right? Because there's just no, like, I'm not honed in on one guy, right? I would like to hone in on some more guys. There's like 2 guys I'm actually honed in on. It's Kyler Murray and CeeDee Lamb and a little bit of Jalen Hurts. I'm trying to get more in on him. I would like 4 or 5 guys. I'd like that to be 4 or 5 guys where I go, okay, I've got high-end guys. I'm not talking about like Pierre Strongs because that doesn't count. Everybody has those guys where you've got 10 of those bums. But I would like to consolidate at the high end, like 4 or 5 of my guys like that. Another thing I'd like to do is rookie season's over, right? It was fun getting all those rookies. It was fun getting those Brian Thomas shares. Now, it would be even more fun. What can I do with Brian Thomas and another piece to get something that's actually produced in the past? Because people still have, I know rookie season's kind of over, right? It's May 26th. Rookie season's over, I think, for most people. But some people still have the vapors for rookies in their eyes. So what can I do to move that rookie that has untapped, unlimited potential right now for a veteran that just has a capped ceiling?
That's funny. I'm just sitting here laughing because you said it's May 26th. So Shane is still living in the 2 days ago. It's May 28th, Shane. We're actually closer to June than
Jesus. It's May 28th.
Time flies, but
rookie season's even further done than I even thought.
Well, let's kind of hone the discussion back in. Really what you're saying is you want to do a couple things. You want to try to consolidate at the top, meaning you want to pick your bets that you're confident on, whatever the analysis is for this season, for dynasty value long-term. You want to get rid of a lot of those like middling shares of players where you go, I just have a couple shares of Brian Thomas because I just happen to have those picks in the rookie draft and I couldn't trade them. That's easy. Like you can easily go through and say, I have too much or too little of a player in a certain tier or in a certain build or something like that. I think the most important thing for me is when we did that rookie share show, every single year I talk process on rookie picks, right? Meaning don't make too many seconds, don't make too many thirds, don't make too many fourths, trade them all away. And I'll just give some insight, Shane. Guess how many 3rd-round picks? And I'm in 46 dynasty leagues right now as we speak, okay? How many 3rd-round picks do I have in 2025? Take a guess.
It's 46 leagues. I'm going to go with 55.
Higher. Keep guessing. You're not out on Prices Right yet. Keep going up.
74.
Am I embarrassed to say It's higher.
Oof. I don't want to go double
right?
that number. I don't want to say it can't be 3 digits, right? It can't be in the triple digits.
It's 193.5% of the leagues that I'm in. So I have 89 third-round picks already next year, which means I've probably been a little disciplined by saying I don't want to pick at that 310 or the 308, right? I made some moves where I got some future picks, but then I look and I go, all right, I have 66 second rounders. That's a lot of second rounders. That's almost 44% higher than leagues I have. It's second rounders. I've avoided the fourths because you've taught me well. You don't really want the fourths. It's no different than waiver dollars. But I'm sitting on just a gluttony of future picks. But I'm also sitting on, you remember our rookie shares show? How many shares of, I don't know, Jalen McMillan, Luke McCaffrey, Jermaine Burton, Javon Baker, Roman Wilson, a lot of those guys, right, too. So how do you get rid of some of those where there's not even a lot of third-round picks to go around in my league? You know why? Because I already have probably 3 per league. So I've already milked a couple of the teams that are like, oh, I'll give you my third next year for this player. I'll give you my second next year for this player. So what do you do? How do you go about? That's my main process. But how do you go about moving those types of players creatively when there's the camp buzz, when there's the preseason highlight, when there's the training camp, no pads, one-handed catch where you're going, Luke McCaffrey is that dude in the slot. Like, how do you actually get deals done with those players? And it can't just be I sold him for a second. I drafted him in the third and I sold him for a second. Because I almost don't even want to do that unless I know my league market is going to reward me for having that second in season, meaning I can go buy Aaron Jones when I need him. I can go buy Ramondre Stevenson when I need him. And if I don't need him, then I can wait a little bit more time and the market's always going to be fluid. And not all of these leagues, that's the case. There you go. Throw them in trades. But that's what I need to do. I don't want 10 shares of Roman Wilson. I don't want 9 shares of Jalen McMillan. There's going to be windows. Now, some of these guys I'm going to whiff on. I'm just left holding the bag. You know what I mean? But the ones that pop, I'm also going to be looking to move them. But I don't quite have the discipline or the process down to do exactly what David said in the chat, is throw them into trades to get other deals done. So how do you do it? What's your secret? Because I know you get a lot more deals done than me, but this is probably a blind spot for me where I hold way too many seconds and thirds and way too many of these fringe receivers that have hopium into the preseason and into the season, and they end up burning me.
So I am more willing to, this is going to sound, people are going to burn me at the cross. I'm willing to accept what some people will say is a loss, just to win at the player range, right? Like if it just takes a second to get a player that I want, and this is super player takey, right? I'm adding a second to Jordan Addison to, I don't even know a player, but let's just pick a player, any player in a range right above that where people, excuse me, sorry, where people
JSN.
Okay, well let's go the other way. I'll add a second to JSN for a player in that might be similarly tiered that I know is better. Let's just say I might add a second to JSN to get Jaden Reed and Devin Singletary.
How about Nico Collins? Now that he's got paid,
I would absolutely.
Jordan Addison in a second for Nico Collins. Is that a no-brainer?
Yeah, I would do something like that. Now, I usually will ask for one of those running backs back, and I always say Devin Singletary because he's just the proxy.
He's good now, Shane. He doesn't.
But it doesn't matter because he's just a placeholder. He's just a person, right? Anyone. He could be anyone. It could be, well, Najee Harris is a little high end, but any running back on your roster that looks like he could get a shot at a starting back. Tank Bigsby, sure. That's a little lower than I'd like to go. That's a little offensive. I'd like to go a little higher, but yeah. Khalil Herbert, which is literally just a little higher, something like that. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's probably again, like I said, a blind spot. And someone asked in the chat, will I make all of those picks? I probably end up making too many of them, but cognizantly, every year I go into the season going, I'm not going to make all these picks. I'm going to have the discipline to trade away a player I'm going to trade away a pick for a running back or trade away a second for a receiver, something like that. Then when you get to draft season, man, don't draft 9 shares of Javon Baker. Trade that third away for a future third, even if it's the 306. It's not about getting the future third so I can make it next year. It's about having the flexibility. So here's the other thing, and I don't think people think about it.
Real quick, just going back to that. So we're talking thirds, right? So there'll be many deals where I collect thirds and then I'll just use them like they don't even count. Like I'll just throw 3 of them in a deal because they don't count to me. Like, and yes, can we use them for a spot running back? Yes, we can. But in the greater way to use them is throw them in a deal where I'm tearing up for a wide receiver or well, it's usually a wide receiver. Who are we kidding? But you know what I mean? Just using it in a deal where I don't want to say overwhelmed because you're overwhelming someone with thirds, whatever. But you just keep piling them on. You're just piling them on. Like, here's a bunch of just stuff. Here's a bunch of things. And would it be probably more prudent not to throw in 2 seconds and 3/3? Sure. But it's one of those like where you just throw 6 things at someone and you're like, all right, tell me no. But anyway, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, we're just kind of ballparking things back and forth. Typically, we're just firing away hammer trades and stuff. We're going to get to trades. We're going to hit a ton of trades tonight, a ton of hammers trades in the chat. But I wanted to kind of start with some theory discussion here because here's another option that I'm always preaching, but I'm not good at. Maybe I'm telling myself a little bit tonight. Let's say I have name a receiver like, let's go Troy Franklin. Okay. Troy Franklin is one of those that you probably took Troy Franklin a couple times. If you liked him, you probably took him even more than the average person. But he's one of those that still has to prove something before he's even a threshold receiver in a start 11. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Like, he's valued there. He's wide receiver 56. But you're not looking at your lineup going, I'm plugging Troy Franklin in. Now, we also know all it'll take is one game. Week 1, if he goes out and has 6 targets from Bo Nix, he's somebody you go, okay, I can probably consider starting him in that last flex spot in a start 11, right? So let's say I have a bunch of those types where I'm just waiting and maybe there is a little camp buzz. Maybe I know Troy Franklin's going to be a starter right from training camp because that's where he already is. Are you then willing to go to the other players on your roster and say, okay, Shane, I have Troy Franklin. I drafted him at the 212. I'm trying to get a second and a third, but nobody in my league will pay it. So I'm going to have to wait till in season. And if the season gets here and he's startable in my last flex spot, wouldn't you rather have the liquidity before that? Wouldn't you rather make the move rather than not have, the extra picks to play with and have guys like Troy Franklin sitting on your bench when they're clearly startable in a range that doesn't really matter? So here's my question. Would you then go to your roster and say, okay, I'm making the bet now on the guy I already drafted. I will now trade away. How about Jaden Reed for a 25 first? So I'm trading him away, even though I would put him ahead of Troy Franklin on the pecking order. But what I'm betting on is that Troy Franklin can slide into Jaden Reed's spot. And instead of trading Troy Franklin for a second and a third, I'm getting a first for Jaden Reed. You make that kind of move? Because you're trading from what other people will buy. And a lot of times it takes a little more than just some camp hype or camp buzz for you truly to get the return on the guy that you're not ready to slide in or the other people aren't willing to pay for.
I mean, so I'll speak from real world. Do I have a couple Jaden Reeds on my roster? And by that, do I have a Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers, Jaden Reed? And again, the specific names don't matter. Do I have the wide receivers, let's say, what do you think? There's about 10 wide receivers roughly in that range. No one likes Jaden Reed except Jaden Reed owners. I mean, okay. But to that point, do I have one of those or 2 of those 10 wide receivers on my roster? Because if I do, then yes, I'm probably going to ship one of those dudes for a first if I can get it. If I don't, if it's just the one, I'm probably going to hold on to them and try to just move Troy Franklin for that second and third. But that's also because I don't think Troy Franklin is particularly any good, right? Because, well, I don't have any evidence that he's particularly good. And the NFL also told me they don't think he's particularly any good. So I'm going to probably try to move Troy Franklin because, well, the NFL told me they don't think he's any good based on draft capital. So if he does hit, he'll be an outlier. I generally don't bet on outliers until they've outlied in the league, and then I will bet on them.
Well, but is that the way to take advantage of? Forget about whether Troy Franklin is good or not. It's just taking advantage of the current market because I value being able to move. And here's a comment from Bayou. No one likes Jaden Reed. And then Josh chimes in. He likes Jaden Reed. So just that's what it feels like. A lot of the wide receivers in that, I don't know, 20 to 40 range feel like interchangeable. As soon as you try to get leverage or get an extra pick on top, it immediately flips and someone tells you why the guy they have isn't worth paying the extra pick for. But here's an interesting thought from the Fantasy Plumber. Appreciate you being in here. Let's say you have one of these receivers that pops. Let's say T. Higgins doesn't show up. Jermaine Burton's a starter. Would you trade Jermaine Burton for, I don't know, let me go real gross. Jermaine Burton for Jerome Ford, Shane. And
Yes.
Jermaine Burton's he's going to be a starter. T. Higgins is not reporting to camp. Jermaine Burton starting.
Go on.
Jermaine Burton for Jerome Ford. How about go a little bit lower? Jermaine Burton for Gus Edwards. Same tier probably as Jerome Ford.
Man, I actually think
Maybe
Jerome
a little
Ford's
higher.
higher than Gus Edwards. I think Gus Edwards is absolutely carried by touchdown scoring. It's getting very player takey, really player specific, right?
Okay. So I'll give another example, maybe one that's a little bit lower. So let's say you have Malachi Corley, right? He was a high 3rd round pick. I don't know what you think about him other than what you've mentioned. Let's say he's kind of struggling to pick up the offense a little bit, and he's just there, right? He's worth about what he was draft time, but there's no positive movement for him. Would you trade him for Evan Hall?
No, I would hope I would do better. No.
You can't do better. His valuation on the market is a 3rd. You don't want a 3rd. You want a running back. And
I hear you.
I'll give you Evan Hall, who is a almost guaranteed backup.
I hear you. So I would hold and hope that I could do better. I hear your hypothetical, and I dismiss your hypothetical and say, no, I am going to hold in this instance. I'm going to hold and go, well, I know Scott said this is the best I can do, but I'm going to ignore Scott's premise and hope that in 3 weeks I can do better.
But this comment basically refers to I'm buying running backs. Like what I'm trying to do is turn these receivers into Aaron Jones, James Conner, those types, right? But the managers probably aren't selling those until they get to that uncomfortable range where you go, I really don't want to move because I'm hoping for better. So I get this process, but I just don't believe in all the leagues where I'm sitting here holding the Javon Bakers and the Roman Wilsons where I'm just going to find somebody that goes, all right, here, I'll give you Aaron Jones. I'll give you James Conner. Even Zach Moss, like those types. People aren't moving that type of running back until they have motivation to move them. And those guys are usually on teams that value them how, Shane? The same way I am when I'm trying to buy them. So the thought of them getting Javon Baker doesn't really move the needle unless Javon Baker just looks so good where now all of a sudden the person that has Javon Baker is going, man, I don't know if I really want to move him for a late 2nd round running back. You see what I mean? Like there's a real finicky window where you do have to get player takey. And it's not even about whether the player is going to hit or not. It is about the trajectory of the name and the situation that I have. You may not think Troy Franklin's going to be good, but if there's a window where he's the wide receiver 1 with his college quarterback, there's going to be a 3-month window where people think he's good. And I don't mean think he's going to be great. I mean, he can put up 10 points per game. And you know how the community would react if he put up 10 points per game? It's going to be wait till next year when he's going to put up 15. There would be a window that you're kind of dismissing by going, oh, he's not going to hit. Because, yeah, he did hit. Because there was a window where you could have sold him for top 30 or top 24 receiver prices.
So I thought this is interesting from Ethan, right? So other than your starting types of running backs, other than your starting running backs, what types of running backs do you like to roster on your bench? 12i9s, what types? So there's a lot of conversation in the chat about like, who are you buying? Like what running backs would you buy, etc. I'll tell you right now, I would be looking to move wide receivers like Xavier Leggett if I could get like David Montgomery and Jalen Warrens back for them. Running wide receivers like that. Like, I don't know why I keep saying like, probably because Clay's not here. It's all these likes coming out.
So let me cut you off there. You just said you would trade a 1st-round receiver for a David Montgomery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Xavier and I think a lot of people out there would disagree with trading somebody like Xavier Leggett today.
Yes.
And you would be settling if all you're getting is David Montgomery? Chime in the chat. Would anybody right now be moving Xavier Legette for David Montgomery?
So Najee Harris is probably a better bet. A Jaylen Warren plus another running back. So probably David.
Now you're changing the scope.
No.
You're adding a plus.
That's fine. But I can do that because my mind is ever changing. So probably would need to be David Montgomery plus. But like someone did Jaylen Warren for 208 in a Super. I don't know what that is. But like, yeah, can I get Zamir White and I don't know another running back for Xavier Legette? What could I get for Brian Thomas? What could I get for Brian Thomas?
Yeah, people don't like this idea. They do not like the giving up on Xavier.
Okay, what do they
already for old running back?
What do they think they can get for Xavier Legette? I'd love to see one deal that they've gotten for Xavier Legette.
I agree with you, but the reason you can't move Xavier Legette right now is because he's just there.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask you before you think you can move him, why did you draft him? If you told me you drafted him at the 204,
right,
to try to move him on May 28th.
No, you don't draft. Look, you don't draft people to try to move them a month later.
Correct.
You know you don't do that.
But that goes back to why did you draft him? What did we talk about all draft season? When you click draft on somebody like Xavier Legette or Ricky Pearsall, they're two different bets. You had to go through your mind and say, all right, Ricky Pearsall is probably going to need some help to even get on the field. Xavier Legette's going to be a starter from day one.
Right.
They're different bets. One of them is probably one where if you're right, it's going to turn a profit very quickly if you want it to be, right? Legette, if he's a starter and he's okay, you're going to be able to move him right at the start of the season. Ricky Pearsall, it doesn't matter if he's not playing. Yeah, it's nice that he was a first-round pick, but you're going to have to wait. But you knew that when you picked between the two. So don't abandon that course and go, well, I'm just going to take David Montgomery or Najee Harris, right?
All right.
And so I think
calm down with David Montgomery. That was off the top of my head.
I mean, I think it just comes down to why did you draft these players and what is your plan with them? And I have a lot of these shares where I can sit here and go, I have a plan for every one of these players, but I really need to go through this exercise and say, okay, what is my plan for Luke McCaffrey and Javon Baker? Like, I think there's a pretty good chance both of those guys start out with some hype where they're potentially starters from day one. And then I have to decide, okay, do I want to keep half of them? Do I want to sell them all? Do I want to get rid of all of them and I might not even be able to get a second. I may have to settle for 2/3. And it comes back to the problem I had, Shane. I already have 89 thirds. Do I want to sell all 9 of my Luke McCaffreys for 18 thirds and just triple down?
Probably not.
And people will say all the time, okay, well, thirds are nice, but in my league, everyone's not going to ever trade me the spot start QBs or running backs for thirds during the season. So they don't have the same buying power that they would in an active league. Now, we're in some leagues where, dude, if you have a third and someone else doesn't need the random backup that's starting that week, you can buy him. So I think it just comes down to managing your roster. And if you're going to hoard picks, if you're going to flip some of these players you drafted for a profit, make it so that you can take advantage. And this is my biggest weakness. Make it so that my roster can take advantage and actually have needs during the season. I don't need 7 running backs on my team when I have 3/3 and 3 seconds. There's too much, right? I figured those picks can be used to buy running backs when I need them. So create some needs to use those picks during the season. Otherwise, you go, oh, I have 3 seconds. I don't need to buy a running back this week. I'm good. So then you hold the second and you repeat the cycle into next year. So any final thoughts on that? Long-winded conversation, but I think it's good because it's what we're all going to be trying to do over the summer.
Yeah, no, I'll admit, don't trade Xavier Legette for David Montgomery. That's bad idea.
Don't you wish sometimes the people in the chat were the ones in your leagues where you're trying to move these players?
I mean, I'll tell you right now. So I was trying to move. So I was doing everything I could to get into a couple rookie drafts, a couple late rookie drafts that were going on. Literally trying to sell Saquon Barkley at a loss because, well, quite frankly, I needed to get in the draft. I needed quarterback help. And what's funny, like, is if I was in the opposite situation of the one that I was in and people were sending me the offers, like I would have smashed accept, but I could not get anyone to take the offers. And what sucks about it is, as I'm driving home, I go, I really want to go send out these same type of offers for Saquon Barkley. Like, I want to go send out the people that I drafted at 109, 108, 110 for Saquon Barkley and see if I could get him back for that. But for how I feel about running backs, I'm already overexposed to them. So I can't, you know what I mean? Because then I could end up with 9 shares of Saquon Barkley. And I can't stomach having that much of one running back. But I really, really want to, because based on the denials or the rejections I was getting in these rookie drafts, I should be able to pull that off. But I just can't do it. But anyway, sorry.
Sometimes just even short periods of time will just destroy Shane's brain. When it's on the clock, he has to move Saquon so he can draft Brian Thomas.
No. For quarterbacks. I need quarterbacks.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here thinking, okay, then a month goes by and you're desperately trying to send Brian Thomas.
No. This is because Drake May fell in a couple.
Drake May,
drafts.
okay, yeah. When Drake May was falling, you were a sucker every time.
Yeah. Like, and my quarterback room consisted of Geno Smith and Justin Fields. So I won the title last year. You know what I mean? That was great, but probably not going to win it this year with Geno Smith.
So you wouldn't have tried to get Bo Nix?
No. At this point, I've given up. As soon as Drake May went off the board, I said, all right, I can't then trade Saquon for Bo Nix. What turns into Bo Nix? I can't do that.
Fair.
Like that's wrong. You know what I mean? If Drake May fell to 110, I would have sent the offer for Saquon for the 110, as long as it was Drake May. As soon as Drake May came off the board, I was like, I can't do this anymore. So anyway.
Cool. All right, well, let's hit some trades. We have some hammers, but let's hit some of the early birds that got in here. Brian put this in here at 3 o'clock. So thank you, Brian, for jumping in here that early. The early bird gets the worm. Shane, 12-team, full PPR, no tight end premium. So as vanilla as possible. I assume it's not super flex either, because he doesn't mention quarterbacks or super flex. So let's pretend it's a 12-team, 1 QB, which there's no QBs involved, so it doesn't really matter. Would you rather have Jamar Chase and Saquon Barkley, or Chris Olave, Kyron Williams, and Zay Flowers? Start 10. Let's assume 1 QB, but there's no quarterbacks, so picks or quarterbacks aren't relevant here. Let's dive.
This would be Jamar Chase and Saquon Barkley?
I think start 11, given there's no quarterbacks. And start 10, 1 QB, there's 9 skill player starters. Does that change it at all for you to take the 3? Or is it just you're getting the 2 impactful players? I would take Olave over Barkley, probably straight up, but you could tell me those are pretty close. But
Barkley and Olave are close, right? Chase is significantly better than Kyron and Flowers, I think. And I see Boss in here in the comments. If he has a chance to load up the running back hammers episode for me on Friday, I have some thoughts on Kyron. But yeah, give me Chase and Barkley. If this goes to 11, especially in a 1 QB, then I might lean the other side. But as is, I'm just going to go Chase and Barkley here.
Yeah, and aren't you getting a little credit for a falling knife in Kyron, right? Like, even if he's good, it feels like there's not going to be a lot of windows where his market is really ever going to be strong again, no matter what he does. So you're kind of getting credit for somebody that may be tough to move going forward in the future. That's something to consider when you're doing deals. Are you getting some credit for a guy where in a lot of other leagues, he's really hard to move? So thank you for the question, Brian. Here's another one from Lorenzo. This was at 4:15 p.m. So another literally 4 hours and 15 minutes before the stream. 12-team, half PPR, start 10. I assume this is super flex because we're talking quarterbacks here. Burrow, Kyler, Russ, Moss, Warren, Cans, Tyreek, Jamar, Marv, Puka, man, Garrett Wilson, Olave, London. Look at that receiver room, Shane.
Ooh.
Yeah. No picks next year. We have Kyle Pitts at tight end. Can I win now while retaining youth? Trade Chase for CMC and a first. What do you think? Can we really upgrade? I mean, this team, yeah, sure, you could upgrade from Burrow and Kyler, but it's not like you have to. You could upgrade from Pitts, but it's not like you have to. And we literally have 7 top 15 receivers, being conservative there. If you want to put Olave and London kind of in the top 15, top 12, like,
I mean,
what do you do here? Do you trade a receiver, and do you want to do it for the deal he's proposing, or would you rather just liquidate one for give you maybe a 1 pick in 2025 to worry about later?
I would love to move Tyreek for CMC straight up. No, no, no.
They,
But I'm going
yeah,
through.
they don't
I
want the
know.
ones you
I'm
want
going
to
through.
move. They want
And that's the
all the
point.
ones you don't
Right.
want to trade.
I'd love to move Tyreek for CMC. Dude's going to be like, no, suck my cock. Okay. How about can I move? Can I trade you Olave and I don't know a 26 first for CMC? He'll be like, no, dude. This is one of those.
Wait. Why would you move Olave and a 26 first for CMC? That is how you start getting reckless. And now you've buried 2 years worth of picks.
A lot. Well, first of all, that I love Olave, but there'd be a lot of points difference there. But anyway, the whole point of that was though is you're not going to be able to do what you want here. You're not going to be able to give Tyreek and get CMC. Would I do this? Yeah, I would.
Would you give
love
Puka
Chase.
or Garrett Wilson for CMC?
Yeah,
straight up, just one for one. Okay,
yeah, dude.
I think a lot of McCaffrey managers, regardless of whether they're contending or not, if you offer either one of those guys straight up, they have to consider it. It's probably the best deal they will ever get.
Yeah.
Shy of just a bunch of picks, a first, 3 seconds. You know what I mean? Like that's probably going to be the best player they ever get offered. Hell, if you had a contending team and I offered you Puka, you may go, it's hard for me to pass up on that receiver value for a running back, a 29-year-old running back, Shane.
Yes, he is old. He also is absolutely insane when he plays. It's hard to look at him as a running back. I understand that's his position. But man, when you look at what he did last year, 75% of his games, he scored 20 fantasy points or more. Dude, it's just ridiculous. So for this specific trade, you're giving me a first and CMC for Chase. I would have to take it. Now, if we live in a world where I could trade just Garrett Wilson for him, yes, I would do it. Puka, I would actually think a little harder about, but I would probably end up doing it in most cases.
All right. That's a good question, Lorenzo. Definitely build a hell of a receiver room there. I think my only takeaway here would be you control the receiver market. There's no rush. Look for the right deal. You don't have to get Christian McCaffrey. There are probably other options where you could go, oh, I moved Drake London for Alvin Kamara and a 26 first. Like that deal accomplishes a lot of what you're trying to do with the chase for CMC in the first deal, but it actually benefits you by getting you some future assets, which right now you don't have anything in 2025. So think about it.
And
you have what everybody wants. You have 7 of the top 15 receivers. That's what everybody wants. Don't settle.
I mean, so Evie Diz noted that he can't even start all the wide receivers.
Doesn't matter.
No. But just kind of back to your point, right? He does control the wide receiver market to an extent. Like, why aren't we trying to move one of the other wide receivers that we're not so sure about, like Garrett Wilson, like, I don't know, Drake London? Is he still a top 7 dynasty wide receiver? Like, you know what I mean?
Drake London? No, he's like wide receiver, I think 10.
Oh, he's fallen a little bit, huh? Wide receiver 10. Yeah. After 2 straight wide receiver 40 seasons. Good for him. Maybe look to see if you can. Now, the return wouldn't obviously be as good, but CMC's 27, not 29.
Oh, I just checked. Drake London has fallen to wide receiver 14.
Whoa. So
Jalen Waddle has passed him.
Oh.
Roma Dunze has passed him.
Wow. I got to jump on the KTC machine. Guess who I'm starting to be interested in again? Drake London.
Drake London. Huh?
As soon as that price starts dropping,
time can heal all wounds sometimes where you like him, then he's too expensive. It just tells you it's all about the price. So we got a couple others, and then we'll get to the hammers. Joe got in here over an hour early. Joe Montana. Not the real Joe Montana, but cool name. Inbox offer. Rookie draft is this Friday, May 31st. 12-team Superflex, 1.5 premium. Don't have the number of starters. Oh, he does say start 10 afterwards. He added that in there. He knew we wouldn't be able to analyze the trade if we didn't know the number of starters. So start 10 here. Pretty much standard across the board, 1.5 premium. Trade the 107. So that is trading away the rights to J.J. McCarthy, Brock Bowers, or Drake May. Or Roma Dunze. Probably not Roma Dunze, but that's in that range where you've been trying to get into, Shane. But he's getting back the 201 and a 25 first from a team that just finished last. Even if you needed a quarterback, are you taking this deal? I'm going to put the feet to the fire. You have Geno Smith and Justin Fields. Drake May's there at 107. Part of me thinks you would pay this to get Drake May. But, I mean, that looks like an early 25 first and the 201, which let's say you can get Bo Nix at the 201.
Man, I feel like I need more context. I hate it. I hate being captain context guy.
I gave you the context. I made it up for the sake of the trade.
You made up even more context?
You need a quarterback.
I need a quarterback. What else
You're
do I
sitting on the pick that you
What
just
else do I
told me
need?
you're desperately trying to trade
Am
for.
what else do I need?
You have a good team that needs another quarterback, but you're
Literally,
getting back the 25 first and the 201. And I'm telling you can get Bo Nix at the 201. Are you adding a 25 first to Bo Nix to get Drake May? Come on.
Can I get Michael Penix?
No. Yes, sir. Sure. This is process, Shane. You're getting an early 25 first.
Give me the 201 give me the 201 and the 25 first. We'll figure out the quarterback room. I gotta start leaning back on the process, man. I'm too far away from the season. I'm starting to get loopy here. I'm starting to think and do things that don't make sense. I really am. I gotta get back to the process.
Yep. So two more. I'm going to reward the people that got in here almost an hour early. This is Mike Almond. He got in here at 7:37. Thank you, Mike. 12-team Superflex PPR start 9. He has Allen and Burrow. Higgins is his wide receiver 5. Are you trading T. Higgins for Matt Stafford on a team you already have Allen and Burrow?
No, I don't care.
Is this getting too cute in buying the insurance? See, the beauty of Dynasty is I'm in the insurance business. Everybody knows that. But you have to buy insurance before the house catches on fire. Yes. In Dynasty, you can actually get it after.
Well, right? It's on fire.
And sometimes you have to pay more. But the point is, it's there. You can get Matt Stafford when you lose one of your quarterbacks. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I have Higgins as my 5 and I already have Burrow, like I'm not trading for my QB3 on May 28th. This is pretty easy for me, right? That just no go. Just feels like it's a losing trade from the minute you click accept.
Yeah, no, I don't feel the need to do this. Don't feel the need to do this.
Now, if you were willing to trade Higgins away for Matt Stafford, would you trade Higgins for a first? Just have the first in case. Because he's probably thinking, man, if I lose Burrow or Allen, my league is going to make me pay through the nose to get a better quarterback.
I mean,
would you rather just get the first and bank it and go?
And the first is
that.
And the first is more fungible. I can do more things with that first than I ever could with T. Higgins for whatever reason. But it's not a person. It's a first. So that it's just a more fungible asset. So if I could trade T. Higgins for a first instead of Stafford, again, not a person, I would much rather do that. So maybe investigate that since T. Higgins seems to be expendable to your roster.
One more. Another person that got in here before 8. Dax Suntkin. When and how do you evaluate players to spend fab on through training camps? So not already the fab that's been spent. Everyone's already blown that load already on the fab players right after the rookie draft. But throughout training camp, you see, it doesn't have to be a rookie. It could just be a running back you think is going to make the team, that's impressing, that's looking good. $100 fab budget, so we'll make it easy for everybody to visualize. Are you aggressive on fab in the preseason? Thinking, man, I can pick up that training camp whiz and be able to flip them? Or are you typically like, that's the blind spot. I'll pick up $0 and $1 guys and I'm saving my fab for the season? Stumped.
No, it's just, I mean, there's no, it's too binary of a question. I mean, it depends on the situation. Like, is there an Eagle running back that's getting some buzz? Guess what? Not going to spend a ton of money on him. You know why? Because Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley, Kenny Gainwell, and whatever the other dude is it Milton that's on the practice squad? Because there's 86 running backs that even if I don't like 2 of them, I won't tell you which 2, probably not going to be a lot of run for this dude unless everybody gets malaria and dies. Is it another running back or Detroit Lions? You know what I mean? For instance, Gibbs, Montgomery, there's another guy on that team that they drafted that people like.
They have Sion Vaki.
There you go. The Vaca guy.
And Craig Reynolds.
Right.
Remember
So
him?
it depends. It's going to depend on the situation to me. If it's a running back room that I think is not particularly talented, and there's a running back that's getting a bunch of pub, then I'll be more aggressive with it.
Well, what lens do you normally try to use waivers preseason? Is it buying the preseason darling that everybody's picking up so I can trade him for a pick, or is it trying to attack something that actually helps my team? Because
I'm trying to.
A lot of our leagues are so sharp. Everybody's already stashing a lot of the players that are already going to pop off during the preseason and during training camp.
Well, there's
going to be a couple, but like I've been burned by, Elijah Dotson, Emmanuel Wilson. Like those guys were good in the preseason. They made the 53-man roster, but I spent 5-10% fab to pick them up and go, okay, that's more of a roster construction pickup. The odds I ever flip those guys for anything is so low that should I have really spent that $10 there? Or should I have held that for the season when I need to pick up a backup quarterback that I know I can flip for a third? But instead of having 85 fab, I have 45. And now I have to blow it all just to pick up Joe Flacco. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're better. The leagues we play in, we're honestly better off waiting until something happens in season, because anyone that anyone's ever heard of is rostered. Anyone that's ever had any buzz
a lot of leagues,
is rostered. Most for the most part.
Well, and a lot of our listener leagues expand the rosters to 34, 36 with taxis. So I mean, there isn't much on waivers.
Yeah,
but
like you go to
people in here playing in leagues with 25-man rosters, 28-man rosters. There's players, I guarantee you, I could look on the waivers and go, ooh, Jace McClellan, you should pick him up. There's probably half a dozen running backs or more that you should pick up immediately and drop some of the cloggers that you might have.
Yeah, I would be jealous of that right now, especially after our rookie drafts were held. We then went and picked the bones even further. So like there is like our
those ones where you missed waivers. You were excited to pick up the screen.
Yeah. Our waiver wires, like I'll just go to one right now just for fun to see who's available. It's like KJ Osborne, Noah Gray, Logan Thomas, Khalif Raymond, like dudes that have come and gone and expired.
That is when you click on a league, if it's a sleeper league and let's just say it's 32-man rosters, because a lot of ours are expanded by the rookie draft picks. So if it was 30 or 32 before, we expand it by another 3 or 4 rounds, right? When the first players you see on waivers are like KJ Osborne and Diami Brown and even receivers that are maybe even better than that, people have already gone through and done what, Shane? They've dropped those roster cloggers that they're just hoping someone else picks up,
right? Knowing
they're probably pretty useless. That is where there's a sharp league, when the first players you click on is, Odell Beckham got dropped. You know what I mean? That is just a sabotage. Somebody else go pick him up, because I can't get anything for him. Cut him.
I'm looking at these rookies, and these aren't real people. These are made up people. Marcus Rosame, Jack Saint. That's not a real person. That's absolutely not a real person. So. Yeah, that is
a real person. That is a rookie receiver from Georgia that was undrafted.
He is not a real person. He is definitely on
Shade, you need to dig through Sleeper for about another 30 minutes and get real deep into Sleeper, and you'll start to get to people that
Superman is on here. Hazmaz El Zayat, which was a Superman character.
Sleeper's wild. There's literally like 5,000 players in the pool.
So anyway,
everybody that's ever existed, you click on the name and you go cut from roster, and then you go, oh wait, that was 4 years ago, and it's still in the system.
Yeah.
Man.
So these waivers are picked over. They are picked over. But if I was in a less picked over, if I was in a less picked league with less picked over waiver wire, goodness, for running backs, I would be looking at situation a little bit closer.
Fair. All right, we got to hit some hammers. We're required to hit the hammers that people have donated over the last week.
Because though Clay is not here, he still threatens us frequently.
Well, he He puts a batch of hammers in there for us and says these need to be gone when you're done or you're not allowed to sign off the stream. So let's get to it. First one, 5 hammers, Irish exit. You said he's an innings eater, but could Pittman ever get to the dynasty wide receiver 2? Could he get to 12, or is wide receiver 22 the most likely scenario? And you say you don't want to roster a bunch of clogger backup QBs, but Flacco is an exception to that rule, right? Lastly, do you think the 3 of you could win a fight versus Mo Alley Cox? Okay, definitely no to the last question.
Isn't he like
Shane and I are not
6'8"?
big individuals, so we are not going to beat up Mo Alley Cox, who's like 6'7", 260. So no, that would not be a good fight for us.
And he's built like a Greek god, and I am built like a donut. So that fight would not end well.
Clay has a good, not a foot, but Clay is way taller than us.
Yes.
But Mo Alley Cox, I think, weighs double what Clay does.
I think
So-
Mo Alley Cox would absolutely shatter Clay's jaw in one shot. Now, and I would try to run away quickly, but I would not get far, and then Mo Alley Cox would destroy me. So no, that fight would end very, very quickly. Michael Pittman. So, you know, one of my favorite things to say is that you kind of are what you show us, right? It's not just a Maya Angelou quote. It is a fantasy football, actually.
Shane
Truism.
says on MANIC CHILL. The quote.
Yes. He's kind of shown us, and not bad, that he's a wide receiver too. Now, can he be a high-end wide receiver too? Yes, I believe he can be that. He's been 21, 22, 14, something like that over his career, discounting his rookie season because whatever. I think that's what he can be. Now, obviously, we haven't seen him with a lot of run with Anthony Richardson. But we also haven't seen him with Adonai Mitchell there. And there's also the school of thought that Anthony Richardson might not be great for his receiving work because Anthony Richardson is somewhat of a mobile quarterback, in case no one's seen the tape on him. So I think he's a wide receiver too, maybe even high-end wide receiver too.
Well, there's been the talk of the mobile quarterbacks are better for the first read receivers, which Pittman definitely is. He's never getting to dynasty wide receiver 2. He's probably never getting to dynasty wide receiver 12. He would need to have what would he need to do to get the top 12 this year, Shane? 120 catches? Something ridiculous, like where he puts up a top.
So, I mean, he's
not going to pass even like Roma Dunze types. Like even if they're not as good, he's never going to pass those types. So he was
wide receiver. Yeah, he was wide receiver 14 last year. I'm just looking at points per game. He had 109 receptions. He only had 4 touchdowns. But the thing is, you're like, oh, there's room for regression, right? Because people like to say that word. Although he's not a heavy touchdown scorer guy though throughout his career. Like that's just 4 touchdowns he had last year. Well, he had 4 the year before that, and he had 6 the year before that. Like he just doesn't score a ton of touchdowns. So he could catch. He could have another 15 receptions.
Catch.
He can have another
109 of them exactly last year. Now he's never getting to wide receiver 12. Most likely, I would bet very significantly he doesn't rise there.
But here's the thing:
there randomly, but value-wise, he'll never get there.
If he's the wide receiver 16 or the wide receiver 12, there's no difference. There's literally no.
What he's asking when you say wide receiver 12 is, does he get to a range where people have to have Michael Pittman? And the answer is no. I don't think he ever gets there. I think 22 is the most likely scenario if you're picking between the 3 choices. And 22 just represents what Shane just said. You're an innings eater. You're somebody that I can pencil in for 14 to 16 points per game, but probably nothing more. And I don't know who said don't roster a bunch of backup quarterbacks in lineup leagues. Like that's exactly what I want to roster. So maybe he's referring to best ball, but yeah, Joe Flacco should be on a roster in any super flex league where there's a lineup. I don't care what the scoring is. Like those guys should be rostered over something else. I pretty much guarantee you should not be rostering over backup QBs.
Fun fact.
All right.
Joe Flacco was like one of either 3 or 4 quarterbacks last year to average 20 points per game. Of course, he only did it and he only played in like 5 games, but still did it.
Super Sauce XL, and thank you, Irish Exit, for the last 5 hammers. Appreciate it. Super Sauce XL says 12 teams, super flex, half PPR, start 10. Stroud. That's good. and it drops off big time. We got Sam Darnold, Chase Brown, ours are next two players. Then Cans. I assume that's Zay Flowers, so at least we have one valuable receiver here. But it's a total teardown. 17 picks in this draft.
Okay.
So that's it. Looks like we have a bunch of firsts, 101, 9, 10, 5 seconds, and 7 thirds. So we have a lot of picks, Shane. Just a lot of ones in the second, third, and fourth round, it appears. That would be, what do we have? 3 firsts here, and then 17 picks, which means we must have 2 fourth rounders that he did not list. So what are you doing here? A team this bad, total teardown. 30-second answer. Are you looking to get more capital, kick some of it to the future? Are you moving CJ Stroud? Are you getting rid of anything but CJ Stroud? What are you doing? 45-second answer.
You already know I'm trying to trade CJ Stroud because I feel like I'm attacking CJ Stroud. I like CJ Stroud. I just want to put that out there. I think he's a very good quarterback. I just think he's grossly overpriced based on what I see on KTC. But if the market's going to bear what KTC says his prices are, I would be trying to split CJ Stroud for like the 102 and another first.
A mid 25 first and the rights to draft Drake May. Is that enough? Keep in mind, it's this team.
Yeah, I know. That's it. That's
best deal you're ever going to get. And are you going to pass it up on this roster just for that CJ Stroud?
I don't know that you can, to be quite honest with you, as bad as this roster is. And the thing is, with the 25 first, if it's mid, you might need to split that too. I don't know what his 25 firsts are. Because here's the thing. Yes, he has 17 picks in this draft, but only one of them is really good. I get that it's, 109, 110. Those are dart throws. Like, honestly, what I'd be trying to do is move the 109 and 110 to next year so that I could have 325 first after I've traded Stroud for May and a 25 first. So, yeah, I would be looking to move Stroud. Hopefully I can get a better deal than, the rights to May. I'd like to be getting the rights to, well, obviously at 101, you would be taking Caleb, but I'd like to be trying to get 102. But
here's the reality of a deal like this. Everybody in the league, this is probably either a new manager or a team that has just been gutted, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone already knows this team is desperate. Like, I've had a couple teams in these situations where I've drafted like in a dispersal or something like that, and I've just taken this type of approach. You're not getting the type of deal you want for CJ Stroud, so you have to pick a lane. Like, you're not going to get offered Jaden Daniels in the 25 first for CJ Stroud. Like, there's no reason for anybody to offer that to you because they don't have to, because they know you're desperate and nobody else is coming with a deal that probably can match what you have to offer. So that's why I think the May and a first deal is a savvy offer by somebody to go basically, hey, I know this might be 90% what he should be worth, but it's also 120% better than any other offer you're going to get. So you have to decide to take it or leave it. And more often than not, people don't take it. They just hold Stroud and they go, you know what? Not going to trade him until I can get more. But the reality is the more is probably never going to come. And I think the other thing here to mention is this team is so bad. This team's already probably guaranteed next year's 101, right?
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't even matter if I'm not, there's no trying to get points off my team or anything like that. At some point, you can still get the 101 even with
there's basically no points to get off your team. Correct. But real quick, as an aside on the Stroud thing, you also, regardless, even it's not even that the people in your league are looking at you like, no, I'm just not going to make that trade with you because, your team's bad and we know that we can kind of hold you over a bridge or whatever the saying is, because that's definitely not it. No one's making that deal for Stroud anywhere. Like, I have not seen any franchise altering type of deals like that for Stroud anywhere. And I mean, it's not just a Stroud thing. I don't see that trade often in Dynasty anymore anywhere. Like, I haven't seen anyone that's trading like Patrick Mahomes and getting back the 101 and the 103. Like, I don't see those trades going down. Now, maybe they're out there. I just haven't seen them. If they're out there, I'm on Twitter, send me them and let me see them. Not saying that they don't happen, but just, feel free to share them with me on Twitter and let me take a look at them.
It speaks to kind of I don't want to say fictitious value, but just the value of the rookie picks when they are the 101 or the 103. Like
Yeah.
a couple months ago, you would have even been like, dude, I don't know if I want to move the 101 and the 103 for Patrick Mahomes. Like you might even have gone, I don't know about that. It's just the way we value the rookie picks. But the reality is, how often can you actually cash in on that perceived value of the rookie picks? It's not as frequently as you might think.
Yeah. Bobby's World. I can't speak English tonight. Sorry. Bobby's World said he's seen some of those in his league, so he's going to share them with me on Twitter. Yeah, if you've seen them, hit me up on Twitter. Let me see them. Like I said, I just haven't seen any that I can remember in my leagues. And I mean, this is really going back to last year with Bijan when we were trying to make moves, getting rid of the 101s. Like I haven't seen any of those like those big deals like that. But let's get back to the hammers.
The big leverage trades, yes, for sure.
Yeah, like where it kind of feels like in the olden days, you used to be able to do those deals.
Yep. All right, 3 from Log. 12-team Superflex, start 10, half PPR, tight end premium. Don't know what the tight end premium is, but I assume it's 1.0, given it's half PPR. Let's make the assumption here since we're not for sure. Drake May, Justin Herbert, Chase Brown, Trey Benson, Devin Singletary. Receiver room is rough. Polk, Rice, Pearsall, J-Mo. A lot of hopium there in that receiver room, Shane. We have Mark Andrews and Brock Bowers, but we've included 425 first as well with his own pick that could be the 101. Want to move Andrews and Rice and commit to a rebuild? Should I wait and move them during the season? Otherwise, I'm happy with how my team looks. Just want some opinions. Love the show, fellas. Thank you. So here's the team, Shane. It's not a contender. We don't have enough pieces. We got a lot of young players. We got some rookies and a lot of hopium in the receiver room. But we do have 4 firsts. Let's address just his question. He wants to move Mark Andrews and Rashee Rice. I'm not moving Rashee Rice right now. It doesn't feel like this is the time to move him on this type of team, unless you can get the pre-potential suspension Rashee Rice price, which I'm guessing you can. But what are your thoughts here?
So here's the thing. This team's probably, you don't need to move Rice and Andrews to still be bad. Get rid of Singletary. Get rid of Chase Brown. And then you named like 2 other starters.
Get rid of J-Mo?
Sure.
People like him, Shane.
No.
We've been talking him up. Let me see. Has he cracked the top 40? Let me see. Jameson Williams.
He definitely has to.
No, he's not. He's 49. He's moved up a little bit, but no, he's not cracked the top 40.
Did you? Dan Campbell assures me that J-Mo is a man on a mission.
Player.
Yep. He is a man on a mission. A mission from God, and he is going to be great this year. But yeah, no, I mean, I would probably move players like J-Mo. I would move players like Singletary. I don't know if your league has points for. If it doesn't, I'm moving Benson, Polk, excuse me, everybody I can to the taxi squad.
He's a rebuilder, and you're trying to get rid of all his rookies.
No. I say move them to the taxi squad.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought
No. I'm moving all them to the taxi squad. So what did in roster reviews, a little cheat code when me and Scott do roster reviews, right? First thing we try to do is we figure out, okay, well, how not cheat, right? Because if it's not in the rules, it's not cheating.
Oh yeah, it's not cheating.
If the points don't count when they're on the taxi
Sleeper,
squad,
they count though. In Sleeper, they count.
It still depends on the league roster settings, though, right? Or on the league settings.
I believe in Sleeper it counts. Someone in the chat can correct me, but I think in Sleeper they count. In MFL, if you're still playing on MFL, they do not count. But what do you think about moving Mark Andrews? He asked a broader question: is it better to try to move a lot of those guys you mentioned in the season? Like I don't see a lot of people clamoring to buy Devin Singletary or Mark Andrews. People will take them.
Yeah.
But the odds you get the type of deal you want right now is probably low. But more importantly, I think the number of buyers for a guy like Singletary isn't that high. Shane would buy him.
Yeah, I'll buy him.
But you want him to be like 3 people would be willing to buy. That's when you're going to get the best price.
The best price you're ever going to get for Singletary is a second, and you're going to have to add 2/3 to him to get it done. And you're not going to get that until he's until his points count. Mark Andrews, there's no tight end premium. Oh, we said there is a tight end premium. If you're going to try to move him, sure, but don't sell low on him right now. And Rashee Rice, we have to make sure he doesn't go to jail first. I'm sure he's not going to, but you need other people to be assured of that too before they're willing to pay up for him. So
correct. Yeah, they probably got to wait. That's a lot of pieces that You've kind of already stripped it down as much as you can. The stuff you're wanting to move is probably better done when there's sort of bidding war during the season.
So Aaron says they do count. He tried that last year. So you can't just stick rookies on your taxi squad. So I don't understand the point of a taxi squad at this point because they count towards your points. It
looks cool.
So they've really
put players down there, and you can pretend that every week that they're down there, they're getting better.
Abolish it. I'm now look. Last year, my kick was there should only be 3-round rookie drafts. Now I want to abolish the taxi squad because it serves no purpose.
Yeah, fair. So if they count, it's really just extra roster spots. You can accomplish the same thing by just having.
Well, then just spots. You know what? Just give us 35 roster spots and just call it a day.
Yep. All right, Hammer from Tampa T. 12 team start 10 PPR, half PPR, half point tight end premium. Kyler, Tua, straight cans. So we're not even talking about crushed cans here or circular cans, just straight cans at running back. So I'm assuming we have no running backs. JSN, Christian Watson, and then Pat Freiermuth at tight end. So 5 assets that really is maybe 4 assets you could actually potentially move. Christian Watson, he apparently solved his hamstring issue. He's all good now, Shane. He's going to smash.
Oh, I missed those OTA comments. Damn it. Did the Packers have their OTA starting today?
No, it was he saw some specialist about the muscle mass imbalance on his legs.
Muscle mass imbalance.
Yes, that's what was causing the hamstring issues. So they fixed it, and apparently he's added like 10% more muscle on the leg that needed it, and he's been able to nullify the hamstring.
There you go.
My point is there's a narrative as to they're saying that he's figured it out. So anyway. 101, 103, and then we have the 112 and the 201, and then late seconds and 225 firsts. Hasn't had his rookie drafts. 45-second draft strategy here. What are you doing with this team? Trade-wise, pick-wise, you're in a good spot with these rookie picks, but what's your strategy?
I mean, I know the team sucks, but is it too simplistic to just be like, take Marv and take Neighbors?
You wouldn't go receiver quarterback? You wouldn't go Marv, Jaden, or Caleb Neighbors? You're pretty much guaranteed to get whatever combo you want.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to live in this world where I'm okay with Tua. At least try to tell myself that I'm okay with Tua as my QB2, but that world.
Well, explain that. Subconsciously, you just said you're scared of drafting rookie quarterbacks, basically, over receivers that you already value extremely highly. So would you want to go Marv Neighbors?
Well, so I'm going to go Marv at 101, right?
Correct.
That's
no brainer. Marv over Caleb, no debate.
Not that it's no brainer, but my quarterback room is good enough that I can justify taking Marv here. Because I'd rather not miss out on Marv as opposed to than missing out on Caleb. If given the choice, which I am given the choice here. So at 102, I don't think there's any doubt, right? Caleb's gone. So at 103, then it's, well, do I want to take Jaden or do I want to take Neighbors?
Would you add Tua to the 103 to get the 102 and take Caleb Williams?
I don't know that we have the assets to do that on this roster.
We don't, but I'm not.
We don't have the assets to do it.
You paused for a long time there because I think you realized this team has no freaking.
Because the answer is I want to do that, right?
I know you do. That's why I asked.
Because there's this part of my brain that's like, do it, just do it. We'll figure it out later, right? We'll figure it out later.
This team is not winning with all rookies, though.
So we
doesn't have enough pieces.
So really, what we should be doing is going, all right, what can I get for this 101? Is really what we should be doing. Or at least going, what can I get for this 103?
I think you're overthinking it. Sure, if I can split them for the right type of package, then fine. But the odds you get the right type of package that I am motivated to move off of, Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Caleb Williams. You know what I need back? Garrett Wilson plus. Nobody's paying that. Like, nobody's going to pay me what I want because I'm going to value these picks and these players in the top 3 more than pretty much everybody in the league. How I'm playing this is draft the 2 players you want. Any combo of, I don't think you can go wrong with any of the top 4. Pick the 2 you want. You get to choose whether it's a quarterback and a receiver, 2 receivers, whatever. What I'm not doing is draft. I'm trading out of those late firsts and early seconds. Can I move that 112 and 201 that I'm going to draft? What, Shane? Bo Nix? Lad McConkey? You know what I mean? Those are the assets I want to move to the future. I don't want to pick there. I'm chasing studs. I'm chasing hammers. And I'd rather just get the 2 hammers at the top and then move those picks out.
So let me ask you this right now. And I know that we don't have a lot of assets. Would you trade one of those 25 first and a late second trying to get back into the first if you could get, say, 106, 107 if Roma Dunze is still on the board?
So what's the deal? Am I giving up both picks?
Nah, just one of them. You wouldn't be able to give up a late second. Let's say you'd had to give up the 112 and a 25 first to move up and a second to get up to the 106.
On this team?
To get the 106 to get Roma Dunze.
No.
112, 201. No. Okay. All right. No. Just curious.
Shay, if someone offered you Xavier Worthy and a first for Roma Dunze, are you taking Roma Dunze?
What's my roster look like?
Our theme is process over this? Players. That is abandoning all process just to get a guy you want.
Does it look like this?
On a team that has 5 starters?
Probably. I mean, I'm going to have to turn it down. Yeah. All right. Yes. That's not right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This team is just chasing the top tier players and then kick them to next year. You already have 2 first, get 2 more.
Yeah, right. And the more we look
chances,
at this,
you get a couple high picks next year.
Yeah. The more I look at this, you have Kyler, top 5 quarterback, top 6 quarterback, Tua, good enough to start. I'm just going to take Marv and Malik.
Yep. All right. Got a couple more hammers we got to hit through. Here's a good one. Jameis Squinston. 1 hammer. 12 teams start 10. Superflex, half PPR with a half point added for tight end premium. We have Allen, Tua, Sam Howell backups like that. Jacobs, Connor, Cans. Okay. Adams, Ayuk, Waddle, Tank, Amari Cooper, Christian Watson. We have Ferg and Michael Mayer at tight end. All we have is the 112 and the 212. Quick, can this team contend? It says defending champ, so I'm assuming rode a couple of these players last year to the title. Can this team contend, and what are you trying to do with the 112 and the 212? And I'm not going to give it an easy out for you. You cannot just add those together to go get a hammer. Or to get a start.
I mean,
what are you doing?
Well, one, we're trying to trade the 112 to someone silly, to get their 25 first or 26 first. And again, I know it can be done because I have a couple late drafts where I've seen people doing ridiculous things like trading 112s for 25 firsts for some reason.
Is this the type of team that? Here's what I would do with this team. Do you think this team has a chance to make the playoffs and as a moderate threat to win? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Is this a team you would just draft best player available? You would just go like Michael Penix, Marshawn Lloyd, draft right into your roster construction and be done with it and not get cute and not try to sell them for, sure, if you can get a 25 first, fine. But doesn't this feel like a team where you're fine just, Michael Penix is there. Like, I'll just take him and I'll hold him for a year. And it gives me another piece next year potentially to move during the season. If you can't get the 25 first, feels like I'm fine just kind of picking with my roster construction in mind here. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, look, you don't have a glaring need. Your wide receivers they're not sexy-ish in name. I don't know why I said sexy-ish, but that's a really good wide receiver room. Like, that's really, like, when you look at it, you're like, oh, wait, Devontae Adams and Amari Cooper. Like, they're both
Well, this was the second part. Yeah, would you give up Devontae Adams in 112 for Devontae Smith on that team? You're paying the 112 tax just to get younger at receiver. You doing that?
No. And I like Devonta Smith, but he's a wide receiver too.
Yeah.
I'll ride Devontae Adams off into the sunset and hold on to the
Would you do that if you could get the 205 back?
No.
Yep, I agree.
No.
It's one of those teams where you've kind of made your bed, but I'm totally fine making those picks if you cannot trade for future.
What was funny is I was looking at the 112 going, hey, I might use that to get another old guy to add to this roster. Was what I was actually thinking. If I couldn't kick that pick down, down the road to 25 or 26, I was like, I wonder if I could trade this for Mike Evans in a late second or a second.
You have Tua. Would you add the 112 in next year's first? Would you bet on your own team and get Tyreek?
Oh,
Did you have Tua?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you're giving up 112 and a 25 first for Tyreek.
Absolutely. And I can almost guarantee you that would get done because people do not want to invest and do not want Tyreek on their roster.
It would be an offer that if the right Tyreek manager was playing process would go, man, that is tough for me to turn down. This is just a brag. Come on.
I mean, it happened. Here's the thing.
25 first. Okay.
So
send the offer, but it's not it's the exception, not the rule.
I enjoy being in. So I have to admit, I am in. I will say a couple leagues that are less hardcore than I thought at the time when I was in them. But anyway, they're definitely more.
But you're in them, so are you on a different level than them?
No, I would never say I'm on a different level. I'll just say the leagues
it's a different market. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a different market. Yes. And so it can be done. It can be done.
Send the offer, but I think it's very short-sighted to be like, oh, yeah, that 201, I can easily get a 25 first when there's leagues where you can't get a 25 first for the 110, let alone the 201.
I have seen some strange things, so I just start sending out the offers because I saw Kirk Cousins as the main piece in a deal the other day where someone got back the 106 and the 108. So things happen.
All right, couple more hammers. Landu 11, 10 teams, start 11, super flex, half PPR, no tight end premium listed, 4 point per passing touchdown, 15 bench players. So Shane, that would be not a deep league.
No.
Yeah, it's not a deep league. Well, no, it's a start 11, so it would be 260 total players rostered, 150 on the bench.
I've already lost.
Okay. Yeah, the math lesson is not Shane's forte. All right, Kyler, A-Rich, and Drake May. Okay, I like that QB room. 10-teamer, it has enough upside, and you don't need 4 if you have Kyler and A-Rich, so I like that. Charbonnet, Roshan Johnson, and a bunch of bodies, late rookies. JJ, Marv, Neighbors, Higgins, Dell, Addison, JSN. So pretty strong receivers, but it is a 10-teamer, so guys like Dell, Addison, JSN, I mean, they're fine. They're starters. Tight ends, Musgrave and Mayer own all picks plus a extra 25 first. One own picks plus a 25 first. No, I'm reading that backwards. A 25 second. You put the 125 second. Threw me off. 2 25 thirds and an extra 26 first. Exploring deals, send one of my tier 2 receivers for running backs plus first and seconds. Higgins third for Kenneth Walker and a first, for example. I'm feeling this is a wait and see team. Things go south.
Yes.
More liquid. Okay.
That
you're doing that deal regardless, right?
Yeah,
just because you're getting the third for a first.
Yeah, that makes you more liquid automatically. Like, I don't even care if the Higgins K-Dub, like, not for nothing. I think I might take K-Dub over Higgins, but yeah, you're upgrading from a third to a first.
It's like, I would just take out Kenneth Walker and still do the deal.
Yeah, like, bro, yeah, smash that.
Well, I don't think this is a deal that's in the inbox. This is a deal that I think he's envisioning in his head that someone else will be chasing the receiver value. But you could make the same offers for Higgins, Tank Dell, Jordan Addison, JSN, right?
Yes.
All of those are kind of in that range where if you can pick up this type of deal where you get a first and you add another player, I don't even really like Kenneth Walker much, but you can start him in a half PPR format like this, and he's in your lineup, guaranteed, locked in, probably for another 2-3 years, and you're picking up a first. That's the key. That's how you push your team forward.
Yeah, and I'll say there's 14 running backs last year that were all within about 2.5 fantasy points of each other. Any of those running backs fit into this bucket. Literally any of them. I don't care about their name. Literally any of those dudes. Just go look up on any website. I'm not plugging any of them because they don't pay me. So look up on any website. But check out Destination Debbie because they do pay me. That website's the best.
Touche. All right, couple more hammers, then we're going to get back to some of the questions, and then we'll end this thing here in about 15-20 minutes.
And then what?
Boy.
And then what? What are we doing after that?
Nothing tonight.
Oh.
You spoiled it. All right, focus on Matty Boy 34's hammer question. He sent us 3. Get in the zone. 12-team Superflex, tiered PPR. So that's
Okay.
0.5, 1, and then 1.0 tight end premium, maybe. Forgot a 0 on there, but let's just assume it's 2 PPR for tight ends. Okay. Start 11, Allen Mahomes, Kyron A-Chain, Tajay Spears, Bengals. I guess he has Moss and Chase Brown. Amon-Ra, Tank, Rashee Rice, Dio John, and then we have Trey McBride, Travis Kelce, and Evan Ingram. Again, 2 PPR for tight end is the way I read this. If it's tiered and then it's 1 point tight end premium, those are all starters, right? Like normally I'd say too many tight ends, but not in a 2 PPR with half PPR scoring for the running backs. Like those tight ends are all flex players for sure in a start 11. So he has a 25 first, an early 25 first. Team feels thin for a 12 by 11 with only 4 receivers you have to start. Where do I split? Do I split one of my running backs, Kyron Achan? Activity is mid, 36-man rosters, and he does say 1 PPR for receivers, 1.5 for running backs. So that changes the equation on a guy like Tajay Spears or A-Chain.
Yeah, so why would we want to split the running backs or the tight ends at that point, even if you have to start 3 wide receivers?
I think you just nailed it without actually saying the exact answer. The scoring here, I don't need to be as heavy receiver here, right? Because normally I'd be heavy receiver, but then you juice up the running back and the tight end scoring like this. I'm looking at Tajay Spears, Chase Brown, Zach Moss. Like those are flexes, right? In a 1.5 PPR, both your tight ends that are not starting are flexes. Like I'm looking at this. This isn't a thin roster, don't you think? Like it's not deep, but every player listed on there is a starter.
Yeah, all 1, 2, 3, all 3 of those tight ends are starting. Kyron, assuming his foot actually works this year. So you've got 12 games of Kyron, maybe he'll play 10 games of A-Chain.
I bet on one of those Bengals being a starter. I don't know exactly who it's going to be. And then I think Spears in a PPR, like 1.5 premium like this, I think is.
Oh, it's Matt Campbell. It's 0.2 PPC too. Yeah, dude. No, you don't want to split these running backs, bro. This is juiced running back scoring. This is like, this isn't even steroids. This is like growth hormones. Like this is next level, like synthetic growth hormones. No, I'm not.
And without knowing it, Shane, he's actually roster constructed the right way. Maybe we need one more receiver if we have some buys or injuries, but the scoring here is such that like the dominant flexes are running backs and tight ends, not receivers. Like I don't need 7 receivers. I can get by. Now, if Rashee Rice is suspended, then I probably will need one more, but I don't need 6, 7. You know what I mean? I can get by with 4.
I need enough to start and enough in case something happens. Like, I don't know, Rashee Rice goes on, speed racer mode again.
So real quick, given that, would you split a guy like Amon-Ra? That's the only one he probably can split. Would you split Amon-Ra for like a Chris Olave and trying to make this interesting? Amon-Ra for Chris Olave. What about David Njoku? 2 PPR. That's a flex. That's a 14, 13, 15 point per game player right there.
I'd have to look at the scoring. You'd have to put the scoring matrix in front of me.
Okay.
Because the math would probably bear that out.
But the names are tough to overcome, right?
And I love Chris Olave, but the math would probably bear that out.
If you split a receiver, if the league values things correctly, you're going to probably have to split Amon-Ra. Unless you're willing to go just, I'm moving Tank Dell for DeAndre Hopkins and, another receiver in that range where you're not getting much out of them, but it does hit your numbers that you want to.
Here you go. Real quick, just going back to Matt, he does have someone that's interested. They have Devonta, JT, and Andrews. Bro,
any of those 3 players, if you're getting 2 of the 3 in that format, Devonta
and JT, Devonta and Andrews.
I'd actually lean
and Andrews would be.
I would lean getting Andrews. You know why? Because now, what did I have? McBride, Kelce, Andrews, and Ingram.
Yeah.
Like I'm starving the league out at tight end here almost. You know what I mean? Like there's not many to go around. So
yeah.
All right. Boston, one hammer, 12 teams, start 10.
Irregardless. Sorry.
So random. All right, half PPR here, or PPR with half point tight end premium, so 1.5. We only have Dak Prescott. No running backs except for Cans. Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and we only have Pat Freiermuth. I have my own first. My team is TRASH in capital letters. Please help, Shane. What do I do? We've kind of already covered this with like 3 questions ago, which was very similar. We don't have any premium picks here, though. So 1 minute answer. What are you doing with this team where it really only has 3 assets besides draft picks, and we do not have a top 6 pick?
This isn't Superflex, or it is?
I would assume yes, because he listed Dak, but maybe if I'm wrong, then we're in even more trouble because Dak isn't really an asset and the picks are even worse. I'm assuming it's Superflex, though.
I mean, obviously we're trying to kick 107, 109, 112 all back to 2020.
You're not trying to move up to get Drake May?
If it's Superflex, can I get? Well, I don't even know if you have to at 107. You might be in a spot. Well, you might only have to move up 1. So can I use one of those 25 seconds?
But if he goes off the board and that's who you were hoping for, does it kill your desire to now make that pick? Do you wish you would have acted earlier?
I mean, at 107, you're getting either Drake May or JJ McCarthy. You can live with either of those, right?
Okay. Fair.
Right. So I think you're fine at 107. 109, 212. Excuse me, 109, 112. Can I move back? Can I move those to 25? If I can't, we've been talking about just sometimes if you can't move a pick back, can I get multiple seconds for a pick? Like that 112. Can I just get multiple seconds and take multiple shots? Because you literally named 3 players and you named Muth. When you name Muth as an asset and he's literally your 4th best
I believe
asset,
he's the 4th best player because he's the 4th player and only the 4th player named.
Yes. Things are bad. Things are real bad. Like, can I trade that 112 for a second this year and a second next year? I would even take that. So that's what we're looking at doing is, can we split that 112 into multiple seconds, draft JJ McCarthy, that 109, can we kick that to 25?
All right, we're going to do one more.
Oh, wait, let's go back because Lando had that Higgins deal was a discussion, but more so trying to decide if he's ready to buy running backs. He'd end up buying Singletart for the league's champs 3rd. So nice.
Singletart.
He got Singletary.
If Devin Singletary is available for the 312, then I think you'd even buy that on a rebuilder, wouldn't you? Yeah. Just for the hopes you can flip him in 2 months for more,
Yeah. There's absolutely no way that Tyrone Tracy doesn't absolutely take that job, as much as I've talked about Devin Singletary this offseason.
All right. Last one. See if there's a good one in here. Here we go. From someone. 12 teams, Superflex, start 10, PPR, half point tight end premium. We have Jordan Love, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, DJ Moore, Zay Flowers, Jalen Waddle, Chris Godwin, and Rashee Rice. Got some receivers here. Saquon, Javonte, we have Kincaid, and then we have the picks 107, 110, 111, 202, 204, and 206. What are some creative ways to buy a hammer for a ship? Quick one. This is only one hammer, Shane, but we've already talked about moving the 110, 111, 202, 204, 206. Like, if I can take chances on getting better teams picks next year, I'll give you 2 of those if you give me a team that I think has a live shot of being a top 5 pick next year. Because this team does not need those pieces to win this year. So everything you're trying to do is just invest in the future. And sure, can you send all the picks for one super stud? Yeah, but that's probably not happening. So it's the same spiel of how do I get hammers in shallow leagues? Bet on the future, not try to pay the current hammer price because it's not going to even be the price. It's who's going to trade me Jamar Chase for all those picks? Nope, no one. The person that has them is probably trying to beat you.
Yeah.
So any thoughts here?
No, man, like you said, unfortunately, a lot of times you have a plethora of assets and you go to the bottom dwellers and you're like, I'm just going to go take their best players. And then their best player is Juju Smith-Schuster. And you're just like, yeah, I don't know.
You also went back in time 6 years.
Yeah, first player popped in my head. I don't know why. Or their best player is Zay Flowers, where it's
Your
like,
mind is so random. That's the
yeah,
first player that came to your head.
Or their best wide receiver is Devonta Smith, where it's like, oh, that's a nice player, but like that's not a needle mover. Like I can't send them 6 first for Devonta Smith. That's not going to change anything. That's not going to change the facts on the ground. So like Scott said, sometimes you got to get creative, and you do have to go, all right, how can I bet against some of the people I'm competing with? Who looks good this year but has an aging roster? So can I buy a 26 first from them? Because are they going to age out? Maybe not this year in 25. Maybe I do have to play a little bit of a longer game. It's not always that you're going to get instant gratification.
Yeah, I saw a comment in the chat real quick. We're done with hammers for the night. Charles said, I submitted a hammer 2 weeks ago and haven't gotten it looked at yet. I'll look into it. Let me favorite this comment just to make sure that we have it saved. But we'll check and see where it went. If it was answered on one of the other streams or on a previous one, or if we just haven't gotten to it yet. We're probably, I think, like maybe a week behind, 10 days or so behind. What was that? Put something up there. You playing around with buttons again?
It's just me pressing things as I should not do.
Shane is bored as I'm closing out the show, so he's just clicking buttons. Typical. Anyway, we're almost done, Shane. A couple minutes left. I know we wanted to talk about our summer schedule. So what it's going to be is every Tuesday until after 4th of July. So the last stream of this arrangement will be July 2nd is the last Tuesday before the 4th of July. And then after that, we'll be back to our normal scheduled programming. But we're going to be doing MANIC CHILL, 8:30 to 9:30 here on the stream. And then we're actually going to continue the MANIC CHILL in the Discord. So if you're not a part of the Discord, patreon.com/allgas, or sign up at destinationdevi.com. Either one of the trades in 5 tier gets you access to essentially the continued show, where we're going to probably be on there for at least another hour, if not longer. So we may answer some questions in there. I'm thinking or debating whether we want to record those and release them as a podcast. So I have the discretion to potentially do that, record it on there and put it together on the pod feed, just like we do the Trades in 5 shows, and release it on the pod feed. So everybody, if they have a question that was answered, they can still get access to it by hearing it on the pod. So that's going to be our schedule. We're going to be going 8:30 to 9:30 just for the next month. And then maybe some other stuff. We may just decide, Shane, to go live one day and just do an impromptu MANIC CHILL and just knock out some more hammers. Like, that's not a big deal, but we're just kind of giving ourselves a little bit of more flexibility because we both got a lot going on in the summer and we want to be refreshed when we come back after 4th of July and really crush it. So appreciate everybody that tuned in tonight. Again, if you didn't get to your hammers, stay tuned. We still have some back in the hopper that we have to get to. Final words from you, Shane. Any thoughts, how everything went? It was fun, just a little more loose than what we typically are. More laughs. Love doing these MANIC CHILLs with you. Looking forward to the summer, my friend.
Don't trade Xavier Legette for David Montgomery. That's it.
Delete that 75-second one where you were debating dumping all your Legette. Who was the other one? Najee?
Najee. I would think about it for Najee, but anyway.
Well, what's the difference?
There's a difference in PPC.
Between
I like
Najee and
Harris.
Montgomery?
I like Najee Harris a lot in PPC. I will say that, but definitely not for David Montgomery. Anywho.
Okay.
All right.
Anyway, we're signing off for the night. Appreciate everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Over 1,000 here, going strong at the end of the stream. And check us out in the Discord. If you're over there, we may jump in. I may jump in here a little bit, chat in the Discord for a little longer, but we will see you next week. Thank you.